What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we have some Detroit Lions news and more rumors. And also, we're going to be talking about Doug Peterson. So let the controversy begin. Let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. Yes, we got a few things to talk about in this video. This is just a few hours after we recorded the video earlier today, and already more rumors are spilling in like crazy. I guess that's just the time of the year. So hey, look, if I put a video out and an hour later it's like, oh wait, that's not actually true, I'm just reporting rumors. I don't know what's real, what's not. I really have no clue. And we don't even know if they report that it's not true, that it isn't true. They could be wrong in that rumor. So it's crazy right now. But we're going to talk about the rumors, some things that have happened around the league that affected Detroit Lions. And then we'll talk about Doug Peterson because a couple people want me to talk about him. So we'll do that. Let's start off with the news first. George Patton, who was a Detroit Lions GM candidate who interviewed in person on his first interview, has been hired by the Denver Broncos. So they didn't waste no time, man. The Broncos brought in George Patton. They made it happen, and Patton is now the GM for the Denver Broncos. So he is now off of our GM candidate list, the list of guys that we've interviewed so far, and it looked like he could have been a finalist. He was in my top 4, I think. I think he came in at number 4. So he is now off that list. George Patton has been hired by the Denver Broncos. So now it makes the GM race a little bit more interesting, maybe less interesting. I'm not sure, however you want to look at it. But to add to that topic, we talked about Kevin Colbert in our last video. We said that, okay, 97.1 ticket reported that made the Lions have put an offer out there for Kevin Colbert. And we talked about Dave Burkett believes something could happen soon. And now we're getting new reports that are saying that the Lions haven't even contacted the Steelers about potentially having an interview because they have to request that interview. His contract run through the 2021 draft. So technically, you know, even though he's not under contract for the future, he's still under contract long enough where the Lions would have to request an interview as of now. So the reports are if the Lions, well, if they haven't reached out to him for an interview, then they probably haven't made him an offer because that means they haven't talked to him in an interview way. Unless the Lions are secretly texting him or they're calling on their phone or they're Snapchatting him or I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're FaceTiming and be like, hey, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi. What is your question?
Hi, Kevin.
Calling Kevin up. I don't know. I mean, they could do that. I don't think that's against. Is that a? I wonder if that's against the rule. I don't think that's against the rules. I'm not sure. Either way, the thought is, well, if they have an interview, then do you really think they put out a offer for him? Maybe they have. I mean, possibly. Like maybe they've discussed it somehow with him that hey, we know what you about. All right, we know what you about. We're willing to throw an offer. So maybe the Lions are willing to wait there. But that's the newest rumors that we were getting. That's coming from, or news reports, I should say. That's coming from M Live, places like that. So I want to keep you guys updated on that GM race as well with Robert Saleh. Waiting for Robert Saleh to arrive. What? This dude is, he's literally got pictures. I'm looking at this right now. He's got pictures from outside. Take a picture of the dude's car. What? Oh my, wait, there's another one? Hold up. Oh my. This dude's at the facility taking pictures. How weird is that? That's a little creepy, my boy. But hey, I guess if you want the inside scoop, that's how you get it. So he's still interviewing with the Jets. Kind of crazy how fast news happens, right? I mean, all of a sudden, boom, just like that, Brad Holmes is favored to be our next GM. And then you look at the Robert Saleh side of things. And now here's an update on Robert Saleh that we also got. So we have some new news on the Robert Saleh situation. So when Rappaport reported that it looked like it was kind of going to be a done deal and that he was going to be the next head coach of the New York Jets, now we get the news that he has left the interview without a deal. So he has no deal from the New York Jets currently, and he's on his way to meet with the Philadelphia Eagles about their head coaching position. So once again, leaving without a deal. Is it something that's going wrong that he's saying? Is there something that people aren't liking about him? Or is it just that he doesn't know yet what he wants to do, so he's just feeling out all of his options? That could be the case, that he just wants to interview multiple different places and then make that decision. He doesn't want to make that decision yet. He has not agreed to make that decision yet. But all we know is that he left without a deal. So he is still available as the head coaching candidate. He's going to go meet with the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll see what happens there. But as of now, this guy that has been linked to the Jets, the Lions, the Jags, the Chargers, and now is going to link with the Philadelphia Eagles, still is without a deal. That leads us to Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes, the GM candidate, he is now currently the leader or the favorite for the Lions next to the GM job. If you want to know about Brad Holmes, we talked about him in yesterday's video. We did not a full breakdown, but pretty much a full breakdown of who Brad Holmes is. Currently, right now, the director of college scouting. I think that's what director of college scouting for the Rams. If you guys want to go check that video out, you can. That video went up yesterday, but he is the favorite according to Adam Schefter for the Lions job. And that may have something to do with the Kevin Colbert news as well. So we'll see what happens to GM position. Again, I'm just trying to keep you guys updated with every rumor as it comes out, but it can be difficult. it can be. By the time you're watching this, the rumors could be different. Just keep that in mind. All right, now let's get into this Doug Peterson talk. Now, I don't want to spend too much time here, but people have been asking me what I feel about Doug Peterson. And really, I didn't know how to feel about Doug Peterson because I didn't know that much. Like, I knew, okay, they won a Super Bowl, and you knew some of their records off your head, but I don't know, what was really going on behind the scenes. And it seems like there's kind of a mess right now that's going on, where it's kind of confusing to see what really happened with the Jets. But we know they fired Doug Peterson. They kept Howie Roseman, which a lot of Eagles fans aren't happy with. They said that should have been the guy at least fired first. If you're gonna fire Peterson, he should have been fired first. Howie Roseman, that is. But Howie Roseman is still there, and Doug Peterson is out. And you're getting kind of two sides of the case from both sides. Peterson saying one thing, and then the organization saying other things, and you got these weird rumors that are coming out of nowhere. So let's talk about Doug Peterson a little bit, okay? Doug Peterson took over. He is a former quarterback, by the way. He's a former quarterback in the NFL. So he took over as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach in 2016. In 2016, for Kelly. In 2016, his first year, they went 7-9. Now, when Kelly left, they were 79. When Doug Peterson stepped in their first year, they went 7-9. All right, so he kept it about the same. But then in the second season, we know that was the Super Bowl run, where they went 13-3. They started that year, I think it was 11-2, and they won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles at their quarterback, which was extremely impressive. So he brought them their only Super Bowl. They put up a statue of this guy, and now he's fired 3 years after the Super Bowl, which is kind of strange. But he's got a statue, so are they going to take it down? I don't think so. He gave them their only Super Bowl. So, hey, I don't think you can take that down. But they fired that guy. So, they won the Super Bowl in 2017. Then in 2018, after, I believe it was a 4-6 start to the season, they finished at 9-7. So, he was able to gather and rally the troops to finish 9-7 and make a playoff game. Then in 2019, they started 5-7, rallied the troops, won their last 4, went to 9-7, got into the playoffs once again. But then this past season, they finished 4-11-1. And he was fired after the year. And there was a lot of things that go along with that 4-11-1, including taking out his quarterback in the last game of the season on the final drive, which people were basically looking at it like, okay, yeah, he sold, right? He sold, he tanked. When Doug Peterson asked about it, yeah, he didn't say it was the front office decision. He won't say that. And to see Nate get some snaps, and that was his goal coming into the game. The most impressive, I think, things on Doug Peterson's resume actually maybe comes before he was an actual head coach. See, before he was a head coach, he was an offensive-minded guy, right? So he was a quarterback, then he was an offensive quality control coach, and then working with Kansas City in 2013, they started 1-5 on the season. Now, Andy Reid was there. They started 1-5. So Andy Reid decided, you know what? I'm going to give that Doug Peterson guy the play calling responsibilities because this ain't good. They won their last 10 games of the year. Their last 10 games of the season they won. And that got him, boom, in the head coaching looks. It's like, hold up, wait, he took over, they won 10-0. Like, wait a second, hold up, really? Like, so then he started to get head coaching looks. Now, an interesting storyline would be, hey, what if he returned to Kansas City because Eric Bieniemy gets a job somewhere else? He returns to Kansas City as their OC. I'm just saying it's possible. And when they did that, they didn't have Mahomes, right? He did with what he had. So I think that's one of those impressive parts of his resume because when we look at coordinators for the job, that is impressive. If that was his only part of his resume, you'd be like, dang, that's really, like, what? Really? Their last 10 games? This goes back to even, I think at the high school level. I think it's because it's called Calvary Baptist Academy. I believe that's at the high school level. And there, he head coached and he went 33-7. So he has a good coaching background, that is for sure. And he shows that he can put together a pretty solid record. He has that offensive-minded experience. Philadelphia was just an absolute disaster. I mean, it was just an absolute disaster the way that things ended there. The fact that the guy has literally a statue and then gets fired is a mess. I mean, it doesn't get much more ugly than that. Also had a game this year they tied where he could have potentially went for the win, but instead he kind of settled for the tie. So this year was just overall kind of a mess. Carson Wentz didn't play well. You benched him. You put in Jalen Hurts. It was just not a good year for Doug Peterson and for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it led to him getting fired. So what's the good? What's the bad? What are the stories coming from both sides? Watching some Philadelphia Eagles fans, and they were saying this as well, and you can also see what Philadelphia Eagles fans believe, is that he can have success with a veteran quarterback and get the most out of him. Perfect example, Nick Foles. He also did get a lot out of Carson Wentz. Now, it's still waiting to be seen whether or not Carson Wentz is a really good quarterback and Doug Peterson in the offense was a mess this year, so it's not his fault. Or it's that, hey, Carson Wentz is not that great of a quarterback, but Doug Peterson helped develop him in 2017, being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That was incredible statistically to being an MVP type of player. you know, which one is it? We'll see. He was the second pick in the draft. And at the time when they drafted him, they had Sam Bradford on the roster. They decided to trade him away when Doug Peterson came in, and they brought in Carson Wentz. Now, some people will say that, hey, they kind of looks like they made the decision between Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, because Carson Wentz is the guy that they decided was their future. And with Doug Peterson, they decided, okay, we got to pick between one or the other. So they chose Carson Wentz, which a lot of people believe is the wrong decision. We'll see. I don't know if that's what the decision making was, but it's a very big possibility that could have actually been what happened. The thing to me would be that, okay, well, you drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. So if Carson Wentz isn't playing well and he decides that he wants to rock with Carson Wentz, is that really an it? I mean, you drafted the guy in the second round for him. It's kind of like, okay, well, hey, if he doesn't play well, I'm going to put the backup in. I'm going to put the guy that we drafted in the second round. And we're about to talk about the offensive coordinators in a second, so hold tight. You could say he's a culture setter. Now, I would say early in his coaching tenure, you could say that it went well, but then towards the end, it kind of went bad. And again, that kind of went to, 4-11-1, but also the fact that, they pulled out their quarterback. And the reports are that there was players in the locker room that were having to be restrained from going at Doug Peterson because they were so mad by that decision by him to take out their quarterback in Jalen Hurts in that game and put in the third string. Dang, okay, that locker room seems like an absolute... They were going to fight him, really? Like, y'all going to throw hands with your head coach, for real? He showed that he was willing to adapt his offense. So he did his offense with multiple quarterbacks, right? He had his offense run by Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, and Nick Foles. And every time it was a different quarterback, their offense would adjust to the style of quarterback. So he showed his versatility, at least in coaching, in terms of, hey, I can work with different types of quarterbacks. He would get in certain stints where he would stop running the ball. They would kind of abandon the rushing attack, and they would just run the ball, and they would just pass the ball over and over and over and ask like that of their quarterback, and it made them very one-dimensional, and it was an issue. So if they struggled to run the ball early, they got into kind of a move mode where they would just keep passing over and over and over and over. Clearly, the locker room was a mess at the end of his year. A lot of things just went completely wrong this year. There's this one report out there that he was basically, after 2019, forced to fire his offensive coordinator and his wide receiver coach to bring in a different offensive coordinator. He was forced to do it. And Doug Peterson, two people close to Doug Peterson, have said that Doug Peterson was tired of being told what to do, and at one point he threatened to quit. Look at Carson Wentz's stats. If he was actually forced to fire his offensive coordinator, I mean, you can see the stats just completely dropped off. I mean, it went from 2019, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 93.1 passer rating, 2018 good stats, 27, and then 2020 comes around, boom, okay, 15 interceptions, 16, it's like you're putting up Jameis Winston numbers. What happened? So was that the issue, that he has an offensive coordinator that he doesn't really want because he was forced to go bring in that offensive coordinator? I'll tell you this, if you hire this dude as your head coach, you better find a GM that he likes and that they work well together, because this situation is not good. This news that players were restrained, they're trying to hold back because they were just so mad at Doug Peterson, so he completely lost the locker room there. Graham, after the interview with Doug Peterson, after obviously seeing him get fired, he's like, well, I guess the interview didn't go so well, but he'll be remembered here for the Super Bowl and his humility and who he was every day. That didn't sound like, the players were necessarily upset. Now, maybe Brandon Graham is just not saying it, but I don't know. So there's definitely conflicting, things going on here for sure. Definitely conflicting rumors and reports. But why was he fired, right? That's the big question. Why was this guy fired? So Lurie comes out and he says this: Doug Peterson didn't deserve to be fired, but, it was right for the organization, and it was better for Doug Peterson to move on and to look a different direction, because he said his vision was too focused on 2021 and not the future. Now, Doug Peterson basically had that last interview, and he gave out some candidates. The report is he gave out some candidate names for the upcoming position in the holes that they currently have. So, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, that kind of thing. And most of his options were in-house options that he suggested. He suggested putting an in-house option to the offense coordinator. He suggested a defensive coordinator being Corey Unlin, or again, promoting someone there and keeping their special teams coach. His suggestions were a lot of in-house options. I guess Lurie, he was kind of pushing for outside candidates with different views, but the report then is that, hey, basically they believe Doug Peterson drew his line in the sands, like, this is my team, this is my staff. Because if you remember, like we said, when they basically requested or kind of forced him to move on from his offensive coordinator that he wanted to keep, he threatened to quit. That dude threatened to quit. So now you're going to come in here and you're going to tell him, okay, well, here's the guys actually what you go with. And when you ask him, he tells you these names. He wants to keep these in-house options, and you're going to tell him to go with elsewhere. I think that's what it was. It was a different vision. That's how Lurie explains it, and that's what it was. That seems like what it was. There was clearly a lot of conflict going on here because Doug Peterson wanted to go a certain way. Lurie and, Roseman, they wanted to go a different direction, and they decided to split up with him. Just like he says, he didn't deserve to be fired, but we had a different vision on how things would go. So that's a lot why this turned into a complete mess, I believe. Me personally, it's a little bit surprising. I think this is why not all Eagles fans are super happy about this. They would rather see it be Roseman or something, because you're talking about the guy that led you to your only Super Bowl win, and you didn't want to let him go his direction and make his calls, right? I mean, this is twice now you're suggesting different things. So the vision had to be changed because if you're not willing to let him do his thing, so it is a power issue. I mean, it's straight up a power issue that seemingly went on with Philadelphia, and it led to a lot of things, and it all just got kind of shown on the field this season, and that's why it was a complete mess. So maybe it was time for them to split up. I think pretty clearly it was time for them to split up because that's not good. So what was really going on here? I mean, this seems like a lot of dysfunction, no question about it. Now, he went through the adversity. When he was hired, he was not the most, I would say, liked candidate by Philadelphia. At the point of that season, fans were saying that, oh yeah, the players weren't playing hard enough, they were kind of giving up. But they finished off the season strong. They bounced back. They finished it strong at 7-9, and obviously the next year they went to the Super Bowl. So a lot of craziness kind of going on here. Would the Lions consider him? I think it'd be, fine to interview him. I would not have a problem with interviewing because I think there's a lot of information that maybe you could gather, at least from his side of the story, because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff here. Clearly, if there was no dysfunction and, hey, maybe this year, let's say nothing goes completely wrong, I'd say he has a pretty darn solid resume. I mean, hey, the guy's a former quarterback. He did what he did. They gave him the first Super Bowl. Like, there's a pretty solid resume there. But with kind of what it went on this year, in terms of inside the locker room, in the front office, it just got turned into such an ugly mess that it's kind of like, okay, wow, what's really going on here, right? Is Doug going to bring this with him? Is this kind of the mess that we're going to have if we bring Doug in? Is this something that wasn't his fault and maybe they're just not a very good run front office and it kind of forced him out of there? If I were the Lions, I would be interested in interviewing him just to listen to what he has to say. Does not mean I would hire him, but there are definitely a lot of questions that you could ask this guy about what went on, with the Philadelphia Eagles ownership, with their team, why things got so rotten, why things went so bad so quickly. Like what was really happening there? Was it your decision to take the quarterback out, or was that a front office decision? Hey, we're going to tank, but obviously he's not going to throw the blame on the guys that can fire him, right? So I don't know. I mean, it is kind of a mess here. I mean, hey, in terms of winning, he was able to do that, and he was able to gather the troops in his first couple of years. And you know what? Hey, look, they weren't great, but 9-7, you'll take. I mean, his playoff appearances, and look, he did fight them back, and he was able to get them together when they needed them most to make it happen and get into a playoff race. But the issues are the offense became a mess, and some Philly fans believe that if that is the case, if that's what he put together, he wanted to get fired. Some people believe this guy wanted out of this organization because it was such a mess. Some people will believe that he just did not want to be there. Or it's that he is not willing to change. He's not willing to adjust, to adapt. And, they didn't really adapt because of that Super Bowl. They kind of stuck with what was in-house. He wasn't able to reach outside of that. He just wanted to stick to what happened. And, he never gave up play calling. It's kind of crazy. It's very crazy. Concern with Doug Peterson would even be the drama. I mean, that'd be a big concern, but it would probably be the defensive side of the ball. Knowing the defense is clearly our issue. Our defense is terrible. He doesn't have a defensive background. And if his list is seriously who he wants to make a DC, that could mean Corey Unlin can stay our defensive coordinator. And if that is the case, we need a lot more talent. Not only that, but we also need a GM that can help me build a defense. Because I don't know if Doug Peterson can do that, because when he was with Philly, that Super Bowl run, it was kind of like, hey, Jim Schwartz, you take over the defense. So that would be the biggest concern to me personally when it comes to on the field. I guess my final thoughts on Doug Peterson are, if you take this season away, which I know you really can't do, but with all the dysfunction that happened this year, looking at the rest of his resume, it's one of the strongest, I think, resumes out there. I mean, it's going to be a big risk if you took a chance on this guy, but it's one of the strongest resume. I mean, going back to his first coaching job, 33-7, offensive coordinator, extremely successful with the Chiefs when he took that over. As a head coach, Super Bowl, playoff appearances, and then the one down year in the first year where he kept it 7-9. I mean, it's a pretty darn strong. You're not going to find a lot of head coaches that are available that won a Super Bowl in 2017 as a head coach. I mean, it's pretty tight. It's a pretty tight resume. So I would say it's worth an interview to listen to what he has to say. How crazy is this dude? I mean, that would be the question, because he checks a lot of boxes. And I think, again, maybe if you give him a quarterback like Matthew, where there's not as much dysfunction, things could potentially be much better and not as much of a mess. Be able to find a defensive coordinator. And could that keep Corey Unlin in the building? I mean, will Corey Unlin stay as our defense coordinator? Because I don't know if you want that. Because our defense is the issue right now, and I don't know if you want Corey Unlin as our defensive coordinator. Maybe we just need more talent. I don't know how Doug Peterson views that, but the fact that he doesn't have any defensive background tells me that then you would need a GM that knows how to build a defense, because he's going to need some help. I'm just saying. Okay? So I guess that's my final thoughts on this. So let me know your thoughts on Doug Peterson. I don't know. That's just information about him, I guess. I'll just throw you guys some information. Let me know what you think. I don't know. I'm going to stay a little bit away from that ticking time bomb because it's kind of a mess. Don't know what's happening here, and it's kind of a mess. So I probably just stay away from that just a little bit. And I'll just focus on, the rumors that affect the Detroit Lions as of right now. Okay, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.